You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast that will refuse to apologize to the armor. Because she is a spy, Matt. I'm telling you.
Still.
We're still on it.
Okay.
I'm Jason the Angry Ginger Jedi guy, but I'm also the guy that's, I'm going to prove the world wrong that she is a spy.
Okay.
I don't know how yet, but I'm broadcasting live from inside my Wookiee Poo studios. I am not alone. On the Skype lines with me, number 2, Matt Darth Matthews. What do you think? Is she a spy or not?
For Mandalore!
Yeah.
I
think you got to do it 3 times.
That's true. I mean, I think they're trying to make us think she's not a spy. You still think she's a spy somehow. I'm wondering why you think that. I mean, we can get into it a little bit more later, but what you're holding on to that.
I think I should. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of people on Twitter who are like, I owe you an apology, Armor.
It was a fucking letdown. Yeah, we'll get to it.
All right. Well, speaking of that, I wanted to share a quote with you, and I think you saw this, but this was from an Instagram post by Brendan Wayne earlier this week, I think, or maybe late last week. He's one of the guys who plays the body actors for Din Djarin. He said, quote, "This next episode is going to make you wish you hadn't asked for more. It might just hurt too much." What are you talking about? Like maybe people who are really into cloning would be hurting? I don't know who would be hurting from this episode because it was a pretty happy ending.
I don't know. We should find out from the who won the Darksaber. Let's see how they're feeling.
That's a good point. Oh, man. Well, we'll get into it. All right. So if you want to find our website, FromACertainPointAskew.com, find us on Twitter at FACPA Pod. Email us, and some of you did. Thank you. FACPAPod@gmail.com. We're part of the Podawan Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. We are winding down our giveaway for the Nerf Mandalorian Pulse Blaster Rifle thing.
Yep.
This is actually the last
Still
week.
haven't seen that centerfold picture yet.
It's not going to happen. Maybe I'll send it to the winner, to the lucky winner.
I'm telling you, like you would still be doing your stat sheet, just filling out the spreadsheet if you sent that picture out to the interwebs.
Too many entries.
Probably double our listening audience.
I don't know if it's worth that much. So yeah, answer our question of the week. You get an entry. Send us a Maul Bag, you get an entry. Voicemail, double entry. Review, you get 4 entries. And we're going to record a little bit early next week. I think maybe on Tuesday. So you have a limited amount of time to get your entries jacked up if you want to win this thing. So please do that.
And if you're listening, there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing that.
No, sure.
Right?
Why not?
You don't live in a third world country. You're listening to this. You've
Maybe
got a
you
device. You got a little bit of money. And you don't even need money to do this. You just listen to the show, write us a review. And I don't remember what the other ones were, but
one of those things.
Yeah.
All right, what's on the show?
In the show today, we've got 5 things that's going to be the show. First up, question of the week. Fun with Favloni's finale. In the news, we've got Star Wars film notes and Andor Season 2 updates. Mandalorian Episode 8, The Return, we'll be discussing big time. And then we'll go to the Maul Bag. We got 4 emails. Each one of you people who wrote an email, I love you right now. I'm telling you, you have my heart. And then we'll wrap up with a FACPA Answering Machine. Oh, we got 3 damn voicemails.
Yeah.
Wow, I got to read this sheet every once in a while. I'm excited. All right, I love you guys even more who sent your voices in.
So, the question of the week is the first thing up. So, we had sent out a question. A spy will be revealed. What's their motive? With the rescue mission upon us, someone is likely to die. Well, technically they did. Will they be the same person or different? And so, and I said, I put the picture in here on our notes just so you would see it because somebody specifically references the picture because I threw some people in there. The armor, beef cargo, Koska Reeves, Axe Woves, and then the 2 guys that they find on Mandalore.
Yep.
So here are the answers. So the first one I wanted to share she replied and just linked to her full thread on the theory of why the armor is the spy. So you're totally on board with the Duchess of Darksaber Light, a.k.a. Jess, who laid this whole thing out. But the one thing I wanted to point out was just the most interesting one I thought was in her long thread, which you should definitely check out. It said, at the risk of mixing religious imagery, I'll point out that there are 13 scouts, not counting Grogu, which means that the dinner they have is the equivalent, and this is the one on the pirate ship.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of the Last Supper with Bo as the Christ figure in the center of the 12 disciples, including Judas. I was like, oh, fuck, that's pretty sweet.
Right.
That was awesome.
I'm guessing the more like I've looked into this, like Still, we'll discuss like the way some of these the shots filmed the second to last episode, which made us believe like there was more than one spy, not just the title spies, but this makes sense. Like there's some religious overtones they've been kind of dealing with and with the Mandalorians, and I think this makes sense, but it's, I don't know, would you say it's a little ambiguous?
It could be. I mean, the other thing I saw that I thought was interesting was somebody, I think there was a tweet about this. They were trying to point out that spies might be a different biblical reference. Have you heard this? Referring to the 12 spies. I'm going to slaughter this, so I apologize to all our Bible friends out there because I don't know the Bible that well.
With a big crossover audience.
It could be. But it could be a reference to the 12 spies that Moses sent out to explore for the Israelites. Yeah. So so essentially the number of people that went down on that mission to Mandalore was 12. So that's what they're saying. Regardless, Mandalorian's getting biblical.
Technically, that makes us right.
Okay.
The armorer was a spy.
She was one of the spies.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. See?
Oh, man. I mean, I get that in the build up to this episode, people kept going all over the place on Twitter and stuff, talking about it, going like, well, it's too obvious for her to be the spy. It was totally set up. It really seems too obvious. It went all over the place. You know, people talking about Axe Woves, people talking about all these different people. So to get to it and then be like, oh, okay. They're going to just say there's no spy. All right.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was that obvious until that episode. And then
it wasn't.
Some of the threads seemed to all lead up to that, and the way she was acting, and that last fucking shot that just kept going, her flying through the atmosphere, getting to the ship. It was like, it just stayed on that too long. What was the purpose then? So
yeah, it made you think maybe they were just trying to throw a curveball at us. It's
well,
possible.
That could be. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Okay, so the next one is from the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast. He said, I think the spy has to be someone we know or have known. I mean, of course, all these are funny in retrospect.
Yes.
I think the spy has to be someone we know or have known for a while in order for it to be emotionally impactful. Twitter discourse seems to suggest the armor, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see, I guess. Rebel Scum podcast. Good name. I kind of hope the spy isn't revealed and we go 6 seasons in a movie before we find out.
The whole Community joke there? Okay.
Won't happen, but every season, who's the spy would kill us slowly. Then Daniel People says, I'm not sure there really is a spy. As far as deaths, I'm not so sure Bo-Katan survives. I hope she does. But they've invested quite a bit into getting us invested in her journey this season, almost as though to greaten the impact of her death. Well, they did that with us with Tech and Bad Batch.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if he's dead.
Big if. But I see this as it's all a big tease. What they're going to do is they're going to open up season 4 at her funeral.
They just skip over her death? Yeah. Somehow Bo-Katan died. Oh, that would be brutal. The next one is from Balin Skull. That's the name of the fucking gray-haired guy in the Ahsoka trailer.
Oh, the new one,
Someone locked up that Twitter handle pretty quick when they saw that trailer.
Got some good real estate there.
Yeah, he says bottom row. Bottom row.
Oh, he thinks the whole bottom row of the picture dies. Yeah. Okay.
So Axe on our bottom row, it's the 2 guys that were on Mandalore, and then Axe Woves. So he had them all working together. It was not a bad guess. The way Axe left, it certainly seemed like he was up to something. You know.
Now I haven't looked it up, but I know that Sneaky Pete from Breaking Bad on the bottom left there. But who's the guy in the middle? Very recognizable. I just can't place him.
Oh, we talked about it last week. He was the guy who was he was one of the admirals in Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, yep. Sorry, don't remember everything.
That's okay. You don't. There's a lot of things that just slip right through the cracks. You got a lot going on over there.
Yes.
Mike Laybourne checks in. The armor is a red herring. The spy is Beef Cargo's protocol droid, which was secretly reprogrammed by the, quote, don't you fucking be squeezing me again, little man, and Zelen Droidsmith. By the way, I don't know that we talked about it. Did you like that little hidden gem of the Anzellan last week when he goes,
like, stop fucking touching me or something? What's
he goes, I'm out, motherfucker.
Yeah.
If you play it back, it 100% sounds like that. Right after he says no squeezy to Yoda, or to Baby Yoda, Jesus, Grogu.
I know, I did see that.
I liked it. And finally, Brian Hour. This is a very Brian Hour episode. He sent in a couple emails. He's been very active this week. He says Axe Woves finds out his bestie dies and launches the classic Mandalorian hip pocket tactical nuke.
I fucking like that right there.
Didn't work out, but it's a good guess. Deep down, I was kind of hoping somebody would write in and say that they thought the spy was Cara Dune, and that she had Hunter Biden's laptop. Nobody said that one.
I'm surprised Cole didn't attack that one.
We might hear from Cole later.
I know.
All right, in the news, couple items. Films, we talked a lot about this last week because of all the Celebration news, but a couple updates on those. We had speculated about release schedule, and The Hollywood Reporter has said that the Rey film is slated for that December 19th, 2025 slot, which is no surprise. That's kind of what we expected. In the same report, it mentions that the Filoni film might actually come out at the end of 2026. So a little quicker than expected. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is it sounds like Avatar 4 might move a year. So that would open up that slot.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago. Like, you can't count on until like picture is locked. James Cameron is like notorious for taking a very long time with a movie.
9-hour cuts of his movies and such. And then the other thing being that the Disney Plus series, like Mando season 4, at least Ahsoka seasons 1 and 2, if it gets greenlit, those all probably need to happen before this movie. So that's all kind of needs to align for that to work out. But it sounds like that's the plan. The James Mangold film, they're looking at maybe 2028 for that. That one's going to be way off.
Okay.
Also, on that first film, a couple notes. While doing promotion for his latest project, Damon Lindelof was asked about leaving the film. And he mentioned how it was like a labor of love writing the script. Yeah. And he said, unfortunately, I'm not going to be involved in it going forward.
But my name's still on the fucking credits.
He should get some sort of writing credit, you would think, unless they completely scrapped the script.
Uh-huh.
But he went on to say, probably through gritted teeth, I wish them all the best of luck. Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy is an incredible director, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with. That kind of sounds like a little bitterness in there.
Yeah, because he would have already seen what she's come up with.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But to say it that way, I'm excited to see what she's come up with. Well, let's see what she comes up with.
Yeah. Sorry, my 120-page script didn't work for you.
Yeah, no shit. I hope you make a nice campfire with my fucking script.
Now, do you have in your notes about the one that we talked about in our text today?
What was what we talked about?
The actor that was attached originally looks like he's left with Lindelof.
Yeah, well, so there's a rumor that Jeff Snyder guy, the Hot Mic podcast thing, they were sharing some nuggets, and he mentioned that because of his departure and Stephen Knight's rewrite, that the main character, who there's a couple people they rumored it could be, but they're saying now that's no longer in the cards, and they don't know if it's because that actor was like, fuck you, I'm out because Lindelof's not involved, or if that character completely got written out or changed dramatically so that it no longer is the main character. I mean, Daisy Ridley is the only one who's been announced. And you would think when you hear Daisy Ridley that she would be the main character, but that's not necessarily what's going to happen. They're saying she'll have a big role, but not necessarily be like the main character that drives the plot. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if the story is about rebuilding the Jedi Order, she's got to play a huge role in that. So perhaps they're going to focus on one of the new Jedi as the main.
Well, that was the speculation in that report was one of the reasons why they're going with the rewrite was to up her character to one of the leads, right? And also there's speculation that with that actor out, Kennedy's finally wooed in Boyega.
Right. So it sounds like Boyega is back, or at least that's the rumors that he's more interested in coming back now. I mean, makes total sense considering Rey's involvement and how they were kind of setting him up to have this Force sensitivity. Yeah. You know, his comments recently just kind of...
Boy, he's changed his mind.
But also not a huge fan of Rian Johnson and how he treated his character.
Yeah, well, that's true. Started there.
Yeah. And I mean, everything I read about that, the big three, I don't think really liked where episode 8 went. That's everything I read. What's the big four?
You got to correct. Hamill wasn't.
Well, Hamill too. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. So it seems like they all weren't jiving. They were more on line with JJ's plan. And he actually said, John Boyega, I feel like the arc that JJ tried to tie up, that's where I feel comfortable with the release of him. So yeah, they like JJ. Anyway. And then, by the way, I was going to mention this to you. What's coming up in a couple weeks? Do you know? A fucking writer's strike.
Yes.
That's coming up, I think, in like 2 weeks or something. It's early May. That's
one of the reasons I think is why Favreau has this. Well, I think the 4th season for a few reasons, but I think that's one of the big ones. He's like, let's get ahead of this thing so we can shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if it happens, one, and then how much it'll affect Star Wars stuff, because a lot of those projects, I mean, like you said, the Mando season 4 scripts are done. It sounds like Bad Batch season 3 scripts are done.
Yep.
The Acolytes filming, obviously. I mean, it just seems like everything's kind of Andor season 2 scripts are done. Like
right.
Everything's kind of moved along so that they'll probably be fine for now. It's more maybe longer term that it could affect things like those films and stuff like that.
Anything that's like in pre-production or script phasing. But the scary part is there's a lot of rewrites that happen during the day while they're shooting. They'll change some dialogue or they'll do something, and
they won't be
none of that can happen. I mean, famously, Transformers 2 is one of the things that, like, when the writer's strike went down, Bay was like, we're still making this movie, and just went ahead and made it.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of script holes, and it sure did. Well, I mean, I guess it did from a financial point. It made, what, $800 million still?
God, did it make that much?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, people like to see shit blow up.
Yep. Bayham.
The last strike was about 15 years ago, and it lasted a few months. So to give you a gauge on how long it could last if it happens. So,
what was that, 2007, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 7 or 8, somewhere in there. But it made me think, too, that we joked last week about Kathleen Kennedy telling Stephen Knight, like, hey, you got the script will be done in 6 weeks, and him being like, what? Now, she's like, you got 9 days.
Yeah. She just keeps sending truckloads of cocaine over there. Just
no sleep.
Keep his ass awake.
Andor season 2 has been filming for, like 6 months now or something like that. It's still got a few months to go. But there was a report this week about them doing some filming in Dorset at the Windspit Quarry, which is where they filmed all the scenes with Luthen and Saw
Gerrera, right?
Yeah. So they're back there. Although then they said they had to shut down filming temporarily because of weather, because the weather was getting out of hand. And they said that there was a threat of rocks falling and landslides. And now, I'm not a filmmaker, Jay, but I feel like we could embrace that and really make some realistic filmmaking by just, being on site when that shit goes down. Probably not good for insurance purposes, but,
Guerrilla filmmaking.
Right. And Saw did confirm himself, I think today or yesterday, that he's in. He's like, I think it's safe to say I'm in season 2. I think so. It's safe to say that. There was also an interview with the whole cast on Screen Rant. They were talking a lot about kind of where season 1 left off and where their characters are going to be in season 2. And just to share a few, Diego Luna was basically saying that, like, Cassian is all in on the rebellion. Like, he's switching from survivor mode to spy mode. Okay. Kind of trying to get into that mindset, because where you see him at the end of season 1, he's still in survivor mode.
Yeah.
Case in point, fucking kill me or take me. Like, one of the two.
Yep.
And then Genevieve O'Reilly. You need a minute?
Okay, I'm back.
She said this about Mon Mothma. I think in season 1, we set her up. You understand that world. I think in season 2, Tony really digs down into what the cost is of her choices. What it costs for her in particular with her ideals to have to navigate the Empire, not just at work, but at home as well. Perrin. Yeah. Fucking Perrin. Oh my God. I can't wait to see how they're going to shake that whole arranged marriage shit out.
Yeah, I can't either. Theirs is falling apart while her daughter's trying to do one. She's all for it.
We got to keep it together for the wedding, all right? Don't say something stupid in your toast. Kyle Solar, a.k.a. Cyril Karn, said, quote, it's a year gap before we start, and then there's 3 more because we've got to get up to the beginning of Rogue One. As a result, there's all these incredible moments happening. In season 2, Cyril finds out what his truth is, and he knows how to get what he wants. And it kicks off, man. It kicks off. It sounds like he's very excited. I think we're going to get a lot of Cyril Karn in season 2.
I think we're going to get a lot of, like, where the first season was a lot of dialogue and talking points and whatever. I think there's going to be, and not to say there wasn't a lot of action, but as a joke, the trailer opens up and everybody's walking. Yeah. There's a lot of movement. Things are in play now. Like, we're going to be seeing a lot of action, a lot of running, a lot of gunning. Right.
Yeah. So because of the walking and and stuff that was happening in the trailer and the building up of intensity, it was not necessarily the action oriented part of it, but like remember the first Force Awakens trailer?
Yeah.
Everybody just looked fucking shook. Like, everybody was moving and there was something coming. It built this tension up, and that's kind of how I felt like that trailer
There's been an awakening.
Exactly. That was a great trailer. He also goes on to say, I really wanted to find out whether he was going to move out of his mom's house. And then what was going to happen with
fucking
Deidre.
Can't escape her, man. I mean, there's at least one shot in the trailer where he's eating cereal at his mom's place still. I'm like, oh. When are you going to murder her? If he doesn't kill her in the second season, I'll revolt.
He says, and then what was going to happen to Dedra? He goes, and you get answers to both of those things. Yeah,
there's going to be some fucking hardcore sexy time.
Oh, yeah.
Like when he saved her life and brought her into that tool shed. Woo!
Maybe it's going to be like he's going to have Dedra in his room, and they're going to be getting it on, and fucking mom's going to walk in. Mom! And he's just going to kill her right on the spot.
She's just going to start nagging her. You're going to have a woman over. You need to clean your room.
No, he's going to kill her right on the spot for interrupting. And then Dedder's going to be turned on by that.
I was going to say, that's a kink.
You're ruthless.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Tomorrow we go to my mom's house.
Oh, shit. That's all for news. You ready to talk Mandalorian finale? All right.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts. And by the way, caveat here, we're going to break this episode down like I always do our usual format, but we're going to save a bit for next week because we're going to get into kind of a look back at the whole season and kind of the whole series in general. Talk about some of our, favorite moments, gripes, concerns, thoughts, etc.
And we'll do a giveaway.
And we'll do the giveaway. Right. Yeah. Big episode. Action-packed episode next week.
That's right. A lot of moving. A lot of talking.
A lot of moving and always a lot of talking.
Yeah.
As I alluded to earlier a little bit, on first watch, I was kind of scratching my head like, that's how you're going to leave it, huh? Like I felt like almost like a series finale, not a season finale.
Oh, very much so. That last shot was very,
Yes, but I mean, in retrospect, I guess what they're kind of going for is kind of wiping the slate clean.
Yes, I think so.
A tabula rasa for you Latin fans out there.
Well, what if we're going to have 9 seasons?
You think
like this was like book one, like of the trilogy.
I see what you're saying. Right. So this is the Return of the Jedi ending. I mean, not exactly that shot for shot. I'm saying it's that we all end on a happy note.
Well, that would be A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. But like if there's 3 movies.
Right. This one certainly had some A New Hope vibes to it. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it ends kind of on that in that manner, which is what we were not expecting. And of course you go in with expectations of what's going to happen and it doesn't happen. And then you like created your own letdown.
Well, I think what could really work, and I've talked to Favloni, and he really liked this idea. They did was now the way they've ended it. Now we can pick up with the adventures, but it could be a couple of years down the road or whatever. Maybe Grogu's kind of grown up a little bit. Now he's got some teen angst.
Right. True.
Just won't quit masturbating
with the Force. We've talked about that before.
Stop touching yourself. I've never touched myself.
Look, Dad, no hands.
Yeah. He can move that big, heavy Mandalorian chest plate with his dick.
Dang, bang, bang. It's like a gong. It leaves the door wide fucking open. And you can get into stuff like kind of going back to this bounty hunter lifestyle and maybe feeling more like season 1 or whatever. But then again, it's not like you got a Bad Batch 16 episode season. So there's always only 8 episodes to do something in to advance the story. So I don't know. I'm excited that they've, in that sense, that they've left it open and kind of got back to this point where maybe we do get to see these adventures of the Din family. But it's real interesting to see like, where's it going to go? But I think they literally were like, look, the purpose of season 3 was Mandalore.
Yes.
Solved. Moving on. Gideon dead. Although we'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm excited where it leaves us. In first watch, I was like, But then after I watched it again, it was much better on second watch because you kind of knew.
I agree.
Where it was going to end, and you just got to sit there and enjoy all those fucking action sequences, which were just amazing.
Yeah, it was like almost sensory overload the first time watching it.
Maybe.
Like taking it all in and then trying to figure out like what we were right about, what weren't we right, like where's this fucking going, why did it end like this? So then going back and having seen it and just playing it, I think, and those 2 episodes, I mean, it picks right up where the last one left off. So it's just a solid, over an hour, just boom. I mean, that he's a hell of a filmmaker. I'll tell you what, I really liked what he did with these 2 episodes.
No, he did a great job. And like you said, it's because you're so, keyed in on what we think is going to happen or what might happen and some theories we've had or whatever, you're watching it almost from that lens going, okay, so does that mean this is going to happen?
Right.
But like you said, then you sit back and watch it the second time, you just get to sit back and fucking eat your popcorn and watch it. And it was a much better viewing for me.
Yes.
There are some logistics we can get into that are always fun to pick on. Like, I mean, remember when jetpack fuel was an issue? Not anymore.
Just chasing a fucking dragon. Now you can fly to space. Yeah.
How far away was that dragon?
Apparently, we know because they did a couple episodes back where he had oxygen when he got out when the R5 fell down the fucking rabbit hole and they had to get him. But they can breathe oxygen and they didn't go straight to outer space. But it's fucking frosty up there.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that was an option.
I didn't see it. They must have like their undergarment gear must be just solid isotoner. Just
it breathes out well. Like you're not going to sweat your balls off, but it really insulates.
Yep.
Yeah. My God. All right. Any other overall thoughts, or you want to get into the...
Oh, I'll just spill them as we go through.
Okay. So, yeah, as you said, pick right up after where Chapter 23 left off. Bo's leading the crew through the tunnels. She contacts Axe Woves, and that's where he's heading up and doing his fucking, like, Chuck Yeager shit. I'm going to chase that demon in the sky.
Chuck Yeager.
And then Bo tells Axe about Gideon, being on the planet, blah, 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 need to evacuate all the Mandalorians and use the capital ship as a decoy. So he fucking heads on up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Din's being dragged through the complex.
How fucking stupid did you feel? Because of all of our conversations, it never hit me that Din is just going to whoop the shit out of people and not go, like, they're going to drag him to a room. Are they going to do this to him? It never once hit me like, well, he's just going to kick their ass and fight back and never even stay captured.
Well, I don't know that we knew that they were only going to have 2 guys doing it and Moff Gideon was going to fuck off and not care about it. Like,
that's true.
You would assume there was a little more care taken. Like, maybe we should put like a half a dozen guys on this.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy
maybe
is
a couple
tied
of guns, Yeah,
exactly. He's got zip ties on. So anyway, he's getting dragged, gets out of his, starts fighting back. Great fight sequence.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's still constricted by the hands. He's got his legs free, but it's making it tough for him to fight.
Which made for an interesting fight, like the way he kind of somersaulted around and threw himself off a wall. And, it was just like he knife in the hand, but he didn't have any access to actually throw punches or anything. I thought it was really well done. Kind of reminded me of some John Wick shit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the last 2 episodes, a lot of martial arts shit in there, a lot of great like hand-to-hand combat fighting scenes. I
like that it shows growth, and I mean, he's always pretty much won the fights, but he doesn't seem to fumble around as much. Like, he just goes in and whoops some ass.
Yeah, he's gotten better. First season, he would get worked over a lot.
Right, yeah, yeah.
He does well to get one guy down, but he's getting choked out by the other guy. And then who shows up? Our hero Grogu with the no button. I swear to God, Grogu's going to end up on Navarro doing his own like morning show. He's going to be like a fucking morning zoo show. So the first shot we get of Gideon nearly made me pee, by the way, because he's looking at the holo map of the complex, and one of his troopers comes in. Okay, you remember Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah.
So in the end, when they're doing like the movie version of his life, and he gets to actually have a role, and he's like, paging Mr. Herman, Mr. P.W. Herman. That's what that guy sounded like when he walked in. He's like, sir, they are on the run. Whatever he said. Oh my God. It sounded just like Pee-wee Herman. Oh, that fucking killed me. Gideon realizes Din escaped, and he, gives it the whole like Vader, I'll deal with them myself.
Yeah, my favorite thing was he's looking at the fucking hologram of the map, right? And he's watching them walk down the hallways, and there's nobody else on this map except for those 2, and he's in red and Grogu's in green.
Yeah. And then he just like kind of leaves for a while. Like
he goes straight up Vader. I'll handle this myself.
He does, but then he kind of like he allows shit to happen before he actually meets up with them. It's like you knew where they were. You were tracking them somehow.
And then he goes straight monologuing.
Yeah, well, every fucking villain. It's the old it's the Bond villain trick. But before that we get Din contacts R5. Mm-hmm. And one thing we've learned about Din is, and I don't know if we can call him Din anymore, by the way. One thing we've learned about him, though, we know he hates droids, but if you are if you gain his trust,
you're in his inner circle.
You got it. So we got 2, IG-11, R5. That's it.
And R5.
Yeah. He's calling him buddy, trying to like warm him up, like get him excited. Like he knows he kind of needs to pump him up because he's a little squeamish.
He is too.
So he's like, hey, you need to help me find Gideon's command center. And we go full, A New Hope mode here, like R2 style.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that seemed a little convenient. Like all of a sudden he's got some fucking blasters. He's just going to fly around a little bit.
Well, R2 showed up with those things in the prequels, and we were like, where'd these come from? Did he have these the whole time? Mm-hmm. So yeah, he gets the info. Jacks into the system, gets the info. Good job, buddy. What happens? So then that mouse droid shows up. And comes over and sounds the alarm. He gives them a little jolt. And then they all come back, like 5 of them or 4 of them. And they just start ramming him. What the fuck is the point of this?
With their little police lights on.
Did the alarm ever get raised to anybody important? Or is it just them?
What cracks me up, and I know like this is the way the world's like set up, right? Or the galaxy. But like you can link into the system with any droid from any fucking docking bay, hallway or doorway or anything. And like there's no well, you can only get into these systems here, or there's no, let's see what's trying to access it. Just all droids have complete access.
Yeah, you just have to have that little tool, just like our boy Echo has. Similar kind of deal.
No questions asked.
It is a little convenient. So, and then I love how he flies away and like kicks one of them off the fucking.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's like, gonna fuck around, you're gonna find out. Drops one of them and flies away.
Oh, that's funny. Meanwhile, Axe has survived his trip through the atmosphere. Another thing, he doesn't burn up in the atmosphere like you were talking about, like, you know, the cold of space. Yeah. How about going through the fucking planet's atmosphere and not like having a heat shield?
Well, I don't think he was moving fast enough for that to happen. Also, it only happens coming in, right? Because you're coming in at such a speed and velocity.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know.
But still, I mean, throw a little fucking frost on the shield or something.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist, but it didn't look like it should be that easy.
I mean, the guy who jumped out of the Red Bull balloon, you ever see that video? He was like outer atmosphere, right? I don't remember how many thousands of feet he was up when he dropped and fucking landed in the
Was this
target.
a more recent one? Because there's a guy who did it a long time ago.
It was, I don't know, 5-6 years. Well, I guess it was. Let's see. I've been probably 9 years ago now.
Okay, I vaguely remember that. The reason I remember the other one, the original guy did that where he goes up in a balloon and jumps off, and there's footage of him doing it, and he's way the fuck up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Axe gets up there and he's telling the Mandalorians, like, you got to evacuate. You need to go down and help Bo-Katan. Now, he kind of like, I'll handle the cruiser, he's saying. Now, at this point, he's still like, what you doing with that cruiser?
Well, even with the guy who walks out last before he puts his helmet on, he gives him that look back, like, you just get like this weird, do we trust him?
Right. I think he's meant to be the eyes of the audience there, like, right. I don't know about that. Then somehow the Imperial ships, as they're going up to attack, just miss the Mandalorians going down. Luckily,
well, you know, I was going to say radar didn't pick up anything, but because there's no signal that goes through there, that's probably why.
Yeah, that could be because they literally go up and down almost the same exact spot.
What I was going to laugh at was like, baby, did they fuck up? Like all of a sudden, what's her face comes flying through. It's like it took her that long to get through.
And by the way, when Axe takes over the light cruiser and then like puts his helmet on and gets ready, he looks like he is so in over his head. It's hilarious. Yes. Like he's just sweating his balls off.
I'm gonna die here.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he ends up doing a good job, but he looks like
here's my one gripe, and I know like you got to kind of go where the story is, but if you're showing this happen and you're showing them get attacked, all of a sudden when we come back to Axe, he's burning in Atmo coming down. Where are all the other ships? Did he destroy them all? What was the fight like? Did he just sit in a chair and just like watch the fucking video game play out?
It's a good point. We don't see where those ships end up because some of them get destroyed in that scene that we see.
Right.
But where are the rest of them? Yeah, fair point. Maybe they fucked off. They were like, let's get out of here. This is a losing cause. We're gone. I didn't really like that Gideon guy anyway. So then we get, Din gets to the hallway that leads to the command center.
Yep.
And we talked about how R5 was kind of deactivating the shields as he was going. This is full video game mode.
Right.
It's so reminiscent of a video game like Jedi Fallen Order, where because they're behind the screen, they're like the guys are just sitting there like kind of bouncing, waiting for you to come through.
What I like is like they don't have, if they're behind one of those panels, they're stuck there. Like the guy that's stuck in section 3.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a way to get himself out.
No, you don't want that. You don't want to pull that straw. You know, like you got screwed. Let me out. Not to mention, well, the only way out is to jump and fucking fall into the pit of whatever that
into
is.
The void, which apparently is where they all take a piss and shit at because they can't leave.
It must be. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that must be a mess down there. So not only do you die, you land in a pile of shit. It's like falling to the bottom of a porta potty.
Yep.
Oh. So he fights through all of them, gets through, and it keeps getting better weapons as he goes. I love that.
Right. Yep.
And then what happens? So then he makes it to the clone room. So we realize that these are in fact Gideon clones. What a fucking egomaniac. He's making clones of himself.
Yes.
And do you think, by the way, he's going to have like, what's he going to do with those clones? Is he going to have like one of them jerk him off? Is he going to have one of them go down on him so he can like be like, I went down on myself?
Just fucking Moff Gideon Caligula.
Right. Like a 69 with himself, with his own clone.
I mean, he's a megalomaniac. Like when you see this and he's cloning himself and then he gives this big speech about like, I am the greatest and I made myself better. I'm like, come on, dude. And then, okay, so you only have 10 of them?
I know. You should have made more.
Well, I feel like there are more, and we'll get into that. But the place they blew up in Navarro, now we know, from season 2, that was probably Gideon's growing, not Snoke's.
Well, but is it Gideon's growing, or is it like those were, not to use the term Bad Batch, but those like look all mangled and shit?
Yeah.
So were they actually forming, or were those like, oh, these didn't work?
Probably failed attempt.
Yeah, that's something.
But at growing Moff Gideon's.
Right. I love the fact that then, of course, Grogu looks at this thing, the eyes open, the classic, shot of looking at a body and then the eyes opening. And then I love how Din's just like, kill switch. They all just fucking, that water just floods out. Oh my God.
He didn't need R5 for that.
No, it did not. He's like, which button is it? Probably one of these. Back to Bo. She flies with her crew to this underground little sanctuary where they've been growing plants and they got vegetation, which was this moment of Bo kind of coming to this realization. Well, okay, like this planet can be reborn. This planet can come back to life, essentially.
Yep. It's not all glass and monsters.
Yep. And then she gets the message from the armorer, not a spy. You think she's a spy. Your reinforcements have arrived. And so in comes all the ships with all the extra Mandalorians. They fly back to that cavern where the base is. And she leads the army into battle. Big fucking Darksaber flex.
No, but the whole fight, like they shot the shit out of this. There wasn't one shot that looked fake, like on a green screen or anything like that. I mean, the movement was good. All the fighting, the just like paying attention, like some of the camera shots were like right over the back of the helmet coming in like a fighter pilot, and you see like they're blasting shots and the blowing up and they fly through it. Like this was fucking awesome.
It was amazing.
And I don't remember if we talked about this or was just something I thought about, but I remember going into this season and knowing it was all about Mandalorians, there's going to be a bunch of them. It brought me back to Clone Wars, like where they would go on Mandalore, there were the fights through the fucking city and everything, and they're flying around shooting. I was like, how are they going to shoot this? Yeah. And make it look, as good, because in animation, you got to get away with it. But man, flawless. They did a great job.
Because you rewatched the Siege of Mandalore, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I was watching it the other day.
I meant to go back and do that too. I didn't have time, but it is. It's one of those things you see in animation. Go, well, this is a little easier to do in animation, but I thought they pulled it off really well. It was a fantastic fight scene.
Yes,
like even down to like the cool move that Bo does, where she's being pursued by two of them, and she does like a knee slide across, turns, fires back, and shoots the fucking knee rockets out.
Yeah, she does.
That was awesome. Back really quickly to Din and Gideon, because Din finds Gideon. And Gideon is like, you killed my clones, jerk.
I wanted her to come out and just be like, how dare you?
Right as they're shooting out, like right then. Like, oh, no. But again, it's like, why? You knew where he was coming. You knew where he was moving. Why didn't you protect your clones?
I deal with him myself by hiding in this back room. That's not really a back room. It's an opening to the canyon.
It's his executive bathroom on the back.
Right, yeah.
He wanted to wait there to make a more dramatic entrance.
He got nervous. He's like, well, before I deal with him, I'm going to have to go take a shit.
Yeah, to shit. Exactly. It's like right before a big game, your stomach starts to turn.
Yep.
And then he reveals his plot. Like you said, it's I was essentially, I had made these clones. They were great, but I wanted them to have something I didn't have, which is the Force. And, they'd be this unstoppable army. So then Din and Gideon fight, and it's not going well for Din. He's getting his ass kicked again. And this is back reminiscent of season 1. And made worse when the Praetorian guards show up and just start smacking him around. But don't worry, because fucking Morning Zoo Grogu walks in. No.
What'd you think of his souped up Mandalorian armor? The hydraulic.
Gideon's?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fucking sweet. Yeah, I mean, his whole look was pretty nice.
It was kind of like an exosuit, and I saw people arguing online about the suit. It's like, what do you need to do that for? And it made sense because he got his ass whooped the first time they fought. Right? Yeah. So he threw a little fucking mechanical strength behind his punches.
Yeah, you could hear it kind of going as he moves. So yeah, he was going for extra armor for sure, and still all sorts of maneuverability in that armar because he was doing pretty well. And then so Grogu essentially leads the guards away from Din.
Well, I think it was more of a fuck.
He stepped in.
No. Away.
Don't fucking touch him. Wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute.
Yeah. I'm just going to set this one out. Oh, or you're going to follow me.
Oh, you're coming. Oh, shit. Run.
They start beating up a handicapped person. Fucking hitting them. The armor's like slowly falling. The robot.
The IG-12, I guess, is what he is at this point. Right. It is. They make quick work of him. He's down fast. And that's when you get Grogu starts fleeing. And this just turns into like, It's like watching 3 people try to like kill a mosquito on the wall or something. It's embarrassing to watch. They can't catch him.
He's up there fucking doing flips and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I want some Benny Hill music over that.
That would have been great. Meanwhile, Mando continuing to get his ass kicked, but Bo, his savior, sees what's going on. She comes flying in to try to help him out. And then she's like, go get your son. I got this guy. That's when they actually do. So they knocked IG down. Grogu's running around. Eventually they knock whatever he's running around on, the little platform he's running around on. And so he's about to get sniped. And then Mandalorian shows up and starts helping. You get a kind of a cool little 2-man show with them fighting the Praetorian guards. Mando doing all the hand-to-hand and Grogu just occasionally going vroom with the Force and flinging guys around.
Either shoves one over or at one point he stops the blade from taking Mando out. Like it was cool to see them work together.
Yeah, and then eventually the 3 of them work together.
Yeah, and fucking little Grogu does the Mando slide.
I know, I saw that.
I was like, what is that? I had to rewind it. I was like, wait, did he just do that?
It's all knee slides, that scene. Yeah, well, before that, Bo is fighting Gideon, and it's kind of going okay. Like, it's back and forth quite a lot.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, he just wrecks the fucking Darksaber hilt.
I know. And her hand.
I think everybody thought 2 things. 1, is her hand broken? And 2, really? Just got to smash that hilt? So the Darksaber is all powerful, but the hilt is made of plastic.
Yeah.
They got the hilt on the streets of New York for $20, like those vendors you see. And then I love how he's just taunting. Well, now you don't got the Darksaber. You've lost everything. Must suck
all
to be
your
you.
trinkets are gone.
Oh, that's right. The trinkets line was great.
Yep.
Mandalorians love their trinkets, or they're not as effective as their other trinkets. So then you get the 3-on-1 battle.
And then she must have just got done watching like all of the Fast and the Furious movies because she's just like, it's all about family.
Oh, yeah.
We're stronger when we're together.
Yeah, you didn't see the deleted scene. She's drinking a Corona. Yeah.
In the backyard.
Right, exactly. So you get all the knee slides, all the fighting. You get a fun little sequence of like Bo using her tiny little shield to protect Grogu, to protect Mando. That tiny little shield is so funny.
I know.
And then that's when the light cruiser's coming down. Now, something I didn't talk about before. Axe Woves, do you think like in the in the debrief that they do later, they're going to be like, next time, can you fucking tell us what your plan is before you just spring it on us? All of a sudden, he gives them like a 30-second warning. By the way, I've decided to crash the ship into the base. You guys should probably get out of there.
Well, I don't know if you couldn't put the brakes on it.
No, I know, but I mean, it seemed like that was his plan all along.
Right.
And he didn't tell anybody.
So.
So the cruiser comes crashing down, smashes everything, huge explosion. And Grogu goes Kanan mode and fucking holds the fire off.
Well, it's pretty badass. But you see Moff get like engulfed in flames and kind of do like but is he dead?
I know. Let's get into that for a second. Why do you think he's not dead? You think it was a clone of him, or you think?
Well, I mean, if you can fucking fly up to space and not freeze, why can you not just be protected and not burn in fire?
That's a good question. This is logistics. These are the logistical issues we have to work out.
If you're going to go one way, you got to go the other way.
Yep. And I mean, the fire does die out after, a minute or so. So if he was able to survive that minute, maybe he got blasted down to the porta potty.
I mean, if you're gonna put all that extra oomph in that suit and not put in a good air conditioning system, you really fucking didn't think this thing through.
It seems like it would take a while for that to melt, that suit.
Right.
So you think he would be able to survive for a while.
I mean, and he was like completely, like he's head to toe in armor.
Yeah.
He's not like, he doesn't have a blanket cape and just some fucking Beskar patches on his arms and knees and shit. Like he is stormtroopered out from head to toe. So I don't know. It just kind of seems like he's either not dead yet or that version died and there's a clone around living, either the real version or a cloned version, or, we were kind of discussing this, but I don't know. Should he be dead? Or is this like we thought Vader was dead in New Hope, right? He flies off, fucks off in space, and all of a sudden he returns. So
here, a couple things. One is I could see him being dead because of the fact that his whole storyline was tied to Mandalore. So them restoring Mandalore, him being the dead, kind of is a piece of the end of that. The Darksaber being destroyed is a piece to the end of that. So I could see his story being done because they're ready to move on to Thrawn or whoever else.
It just seems like
that being said, I really like the character, so I wouldn't mind him coming back.
I like the character too, and it doesn't seem like he would have planned for that, right? Like, why have all of his clones just right there? I don't know. Something just seems like a little. I mean, you could go either way with it as a story. It seems like they left themselves some wiggle room if they wanted to keep the character around, or he's just dead and they move on.
But you don't think that the guy they were fighting was a clone of him and he's somewhere else, like operating it with a joystick or whatever?
I don't know. I see a lot of people, because I was looking for, there were some funny things that I was looking at, and then I was online and I was seeing some people say the same thing. And there's the Moff Gideon had a mustache in season 1 and 2, and he didn't in 3. And I'm like, well, I mean, okay, he could fucking shave, right?
Well, but also the conversation he has with Elia Kane, he doesn't have a mustache. Like, so was she talking to his clone there too?
Right. Like, are we under the, like, was the version that was saved from the ship, is that not the one that we've seen all season,
Yeah.
So,
right.
So who knows? But I mean, the mustache, I don't think I'm going to tie my theory to.
No.
But if he's
no mustache rides for you.
No, yeah. But in the second season, doesn't he say, assume that I'm always, what's he saying?
Like one step ahead of you or something?
Yeah. Assume that I know everything and
I know more than you. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're going to do that, but then you're almost falling down the Palpatine rabbit hole, right? Like I pre-planned everything for the next decade and a half. So I don't know.
Do you think they ever sit in the Star Wars writers' rooms, and aside from going over our podcast every week and going,
right,
I got an idea, guys.
Yep.
Do you think they sit there and go, we're going to bring them back? Like, do you think every time it comes up with whatever character, they're like, aren't they just dead though? There's got to be one guy in there, one gal in there who's just like, they're dead. Let's just let that go. We need to move on to another
stupid idea.
Not again.
They got to hire one cynical person to keep them
right.
in check.
Yeah, keep them honest. I don't know. Well, then the other thing you leaned into in our DMs was that you want to tell your other theory about who Gideon becomes.
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to do that next week?
Oh, we can do that next week.
Let's do that next week. I'll tease that because it's linked to Snoke, right? We know that this all leads to, but I have a theory as to what it might be. Now, it's a theory that's completely full of shit.
Sure.
But it's fun to do these things, right?
Yeah, of
like,
course.
I completely, I agree. There are screws and bricks that are in the Star Wars universe, so don't put me in that camp. But I like to fucking make shit up just to get people going.
Of course. Yeah. The theorizing is part of the fun of it. That's part of the reason why we have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially the end of that whole scene, and we move on to the Living Waters. We're back at the Living Waters, where our boy Ragnar is able to finally.
I love that they've taken time to hang up flags.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they don't fuck around.
Yeah, it's important to have the whole presentation.
The fucking giant ass ship they had crashed and burned, but they had all the fucking flags and hoopla on their drop ships just in case they won and they had
They keep them in their backpacks right next to their jetpack.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, you got to carry around with that stuff. It's a religious tradition,
Yeah.
You can't fuck that up. So back to the Living Waters. Ragnar is able to finally complete his baptism. We saw it toward the beginning of the season.
Right.
Din walks in and is like, hey, by the way, I want Grogu to be my apprentice. I'd like him to take the creed. And she says, well, he can't even talk, so he can't take the creed. Now they show him for a second. Did you go, they're going to have him talk? Did you think that?
Yes.
So did I. Could you imagine if his voice is like this like big, booming, deep bass voice? And he's like, you fuckers are weird, but I'll take the creed.
I've been able to talk the whole time. You guys just never let me.
Yeah, right. I've been holding my tongue this whole time.
Just go silent Bob, like he just starts like
filling
in the blanks and telling a whole story and everything.
Drop a wisdom nugget. Yeah, yes. Exactly. So I love when oh my God, what's the other guy's name? His buddy.
Whose buddy?
Silent Bob and
Jay.
Jay, of course.
My name.
Yes, your name. That guy.
I'm glad that you lost that.
I love, and I can't remember which movie it was in. Was it Mallrats or something? When he goes, he always does this. He stays quiet the whole time.
Yeah, when they're in the restaurant.
I like how they call that out.
Or is it Chasing Amy?
Maybe it's Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Din says, okay, well, I'm going to adopt him. And then I can speak for him because I'll be his parent. The armor's like, finally, you said it. Like she was waiting for him to do it.
Yeah. And then immediately she's like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, before that, she says, you're now Din Grogu. So he gets his first name. It's not the last name. He's not Grogu Jaren.
Now, I don't know if this is confirmation because the internet's full of shit, but someone was explaining it. I think on Twitter I saw that if you are of Mandalorian descent, like true birth, you take a last name. But if you are a foundling or an adoption, then you take the first name.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So hence why it's Satine Kryze and Bo-Katan Kryze.
Yes.
And Corky Kryze, if he's out there. And then, okay, well, that makes sense. But of course, the confusing thing for us is We called him Mando for a long time. Then we called him Din. Now do we call him Djarin?
Well, I don't think he loses his first name. Like Grogu doesn't get it, and he loses it.
Well, no, but I'm saying
now they're both. It's like Mario and Mario Luigi.
Right. It's Din Grogu and Din Djarin. So to differentiate, do we have to call him Djarin? I don't know.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Makes it
You just
confusing.
got to go by full names now.
I guess DD instead of DG.
Yeah.
I guess. By the way, I saw somebody say this on Twitter. I apologize. I can't remember who, but they were talking about like Ragnar's ceremony, and they're like, the dude just lost his dad, and then like he barely finishes his ceremony, and they walk up and are like, I would like to adopt this kid, and he's like crying behind his helmet. It's his night of 1,000 tears. But the armor, like you said, is like, well, you guys got to go. You can't stay here now. You got to leave Mandalore. You got to go do some adventures, and fucking make him earn his stripes. And then we get that shot of Grogu like looking through the waters, and that pans all the way down, and you see the eye of the mythosaur open up. Is that just kind of like the age of Mandalore has returned?
I think he's connected to him.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's gonna ride that sucker someday.
I think he's like, hey, psst, hey, I know you're down there.
I feel you. Yeah. Back to the forge. They light that shit back up. So it's tough to get that. It's not. I thought it would be tougher to get it lit.
Well, I love how the gas lines are still hooked up. Everything's ready to go.
Do you remember? When was the last time you did a charcoal briquette fucking barbecue? It takes hours.
It takes a little bit, yeah.
Stack it all up and light it. And God, I fucking hated that. So then that's when we get Axe screaming, for Mandalore. He is pumped. This guy is. He's a believer.
Mm-hmm.
So then Din goes to that planet where all the hotshot new Republic pilots are hanging out. Walks into the bar. No sign of Famuyiwa or Chow, but our boy Filoni's in there tossing back drinks in that hat of his.
With Peter Ramsey and...
I didn't notice that.
The female director that did, not Bryce Dallas Howard, but the other one that did the episode.
So, of this season.
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of a nice reward for them to be in that scene. That's cool. I didn't know that's who those were.
Mm-hmm.
So Din tells Captain Teva, whatever you want to call it, that he wants to do some bounty hunting, and he could contract to help hunt down Imperial remnants.
Mando's like, I'm an LLC now.
Right, exactly. We have a loose... I'll be on retainer, okay? Yeah. And we hear Grogu kind of gurgling over there and pointing at the IG head. Now, this is something I wanted to say, too, is I really don't want them to ever have Grogu speak, because I think it'll take something away from him. But his little, like, stuff that stuff he was doing, that should be his language.
Yeah.
Like, Din's just going to eventually understand it, like Chewie. Like, if Chewie started talking in basic, you'd be like, this is off-putting. So just have Grogu not talk in basic, and I think you preserve that element of his cuteness and all that stuff. Because if he starts talking in basic, I think it kind of changes things a little bit for the way. Well,
maybe because Yoda was fucking 600, 900 years old. After a while, he just kind of picked up some basic language.
Right.
But, maybe they just don't. He doesn't bother to learn it. Is he going to speak it? Who's going to teach it to him? He's not in school right now. He's out running around doing adventures. So.
It's true. Although he might have time to do some schooling.
Was that you that I was texting with the other day? And I said, maybe he's a fucking mute.
You did tell me that. Yes.
Like he'll just never talk.
But I think he can speak his own little language. I think that's what it is. Yoda got fucking Rosetta Stone and started learning basic. Exactly. I don't know that Grogu's ever going to do that, because I think Din's going to understand him. I think Din's going to come to understand his little garbles.
Okay, yeah.
That's my thinking. I hope they go that way.
They fucking just understand robots and shit.
Yeah, I don't need him talking. I don't need that. Anyway, just one of my things. They ask for the IG head, go to Navarro, and he's given the keys to a new pad by Beef Cargo. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, well, I got something for you. And the Anzellans have helped him rebuild IG-11, who comes in as the new marshal. Kind of thought that might happen.
Now, did you notice the red colors and the stripes?
Not until you pointed it out.
Okay, I sent you the thing, the pictures.
I did not notice that before. So it's also on Marshal Vanth.
Yes, and then when TiVo drops the badge to Kara,
right?
Those colors are on the badge that he hands her.
Yeah, I like when they do that, when they keep that consistency. There's a little attention to detail. Then we see them, the final shot. They're sitting at their new pad, and looks remarkably similar to Ben Kenobi's place on Tatooine. And I love how Din's just chilling on the porch, and desperately wanting to drink some spotchka, but he doesn't want to take a damn helmet off. And Grogu's force lifting frogs. Now, what the fuck was this Looney Tunes little little cut? What was that? I
tried to think, have they ever done that fadeaway shot before? Because it was it didn't slowly go into a circle and just fade away. Like it stopped on him, and like.
I was expecting you to say that's all, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that? That was so strange. And then I sat there and I watched the concept art and I tapped my fingers and thought, can't wait, this is going to be great. And then it goes, and it went to the black screen. I'm like, what? No mid-credit scene? So that's why, I mean, bad pun. They really put a bow on this fucking season where it was going. I mean, they literally were like, this is the end of this chapter. We're moving on. We're not even going to give you a taste of anything else. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're always like, now where are we going to go? Where's it going to be? Like, we're really like,
anywhere.
Yeah, you can just pick up and start like a whole new story.
Yeah. I mean, it can literally go anywhere.
Do you think it's a way for them to, because they've got all these threads out now, you know, all these other shows are doing things, and which is going to lead to a movie, but like maybe this is, let's start the next subplot, because I feel like the movie is going to be more Jedis and Ahsoka and stuff, and maybe a little bit of Mando, but I don't know.
This is Marvel's phase 2?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But also, like, Filoni is doing the movie, and he really likes to do this stuff that he's already been. I mean, every time he does something, he's picking up threads from the Clone Wars or Rebels, and he's really doing the stuff that he's been, like, tinkering with and building for decades now, right?
Right. So, every project that comes up, and Filoni's, Filoni. I always think I was saying Favloni. And Filoni's in the room. They're like, what, you know, Dave, you have any thoughts about what we want to do with this series? He's like, oh, you know who would be great to show up? And they're like, yeah, we know, Ahsoka.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really think, and there's a lot of things happening right now. Like I jumped down the Snoke rabbit hole the other day after watching
that's a scary place.
Siege of Mandalore, right?
It's a scary place. The scary place, the Snoke rabbit hole.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to go down there in the dark.
Snoke and holes.
Go with a flashlight and a friend. But I mean, we're in that era right now where all of that's happening, right? Like they're trying to create the new order. They're building Snoke. Like Palps is in the background. Like what's Thrawn up to? Like there's all these fucking threads, and they can't all be like communicating with each other or aware of what they're doing right now, right? So I feel like at some point it'll bottleneck to each other. But I think that this allows Mando to step into another, like, not timeline, but you know, a thread, and like pick up another story and not have to fucking keep weaving into that shit. Like really keep Mando and maybe some of the Boba Fett stuff and move on, because I don't see Boba Fett showing up in the Ahsoka stuff or
no,
you know, right?
No, I would think season 4, yeah, we could absolutely see Boba show up again. We could see Cobb Vanth show up again and all that kind of stuff. I could see that. And it opens the door, though, for him to, like you said, play a bit part. Like, he could show up in Ahsoka because he's out there hunting Imperial remnants or something. Right. Like, there's different parts he could do because he's out there in the Outer Rim doing that shit. So it leaves the door wide open. So I get that's one of the things I thought about when I watched the second time, or sat back and kind of thought about the episode, is I was like, they really just wanted to open the door up to do whatever they wanted. They want to close the door on the fucking Mandalore season and the taking back of Mandalore. That storyline is complete. We don't need to leave a cliffhanger there, which I thought they might. So now they can just move forward and do whatever they want.
And that's why I like jump a few years ahead, because like we don't need to keep checking in on Bo and the Mandalorians on Mandalore rebuilding the fucking planet, you know?
Yeah, by the time we see them again, it might look like the Jack Black Lizzo planet.
Right. Yeah. Well, they were quick workers, man. Well, I was kind of wondering if maybe that's why they introduced that.
To show you the potential. Now they can
go there and like use some of that technology or that group and say, hey, can we get some help? You know, a little third party contracting over there.
She's got a key to the city. And Grogu's a fucking knight there.
But all their cities were in domes and everything, so it's kind of the, you know, so now we just
structure,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I do like the idea. Like I said, you can't do this for too long, but I do like the idea of kind of the Din family adventures if we get back to that, to kind of see what they've been up to together. I think would be kind of fun. Just get a little bit more smaller scale. I think that would be cool. But we'll get into it more next week as far as some other theories we have. I really do want to get into kind of things like what were our big moments that we enjoyed, some things we kind of struggled with, and that kind of stuff, you know, to kind of put an end to that season and kind of move on. So we'll do that next week.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the Maul Bag. Email number 1, Neighbor Cole. Hey, nerds.
There we go.
You're a fucking nerd. Latest episode was pretty damn amazing. He sent this before. Oh, no, he sent this at the end, I guess. No, sorry.
No,
this is after chapter 23. You're right.
Right.
So, episode was pretty damn amazing. Aside from this, It just goes right into it. Aside from the stupid fucking yes/no antics from Grogu, aka Krang Krong, how do you say that, from the Ninja Turtles, and Moff Gideon's insistence to wax poetic for 30 fucking minutes, detailing his plans and smugly stroking himself off in self-congratulation. So it's just typical villain shit. I mean, it's no surprise that he wants to like boast about it. So yeah, makes sense. For Rizzle, though, the final scene carried some weight, brohams. Watching Vizsla hold the door so everyone could escape. His Gatling gun melting in his hands as he destroys the stormtroopers. The bring it bitches stance when he pops his shield and grabs his knife with the Disco Inferno team attacking him with the glow sticks. By the way, speculation, it appeared those things went through his Beskar armor. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask about that because in the fight sequence they have with Din in this latest episode, it doesn't, none of that seems to happen. They get him in the neck kind of with the shocker.
Yes.
But nothing is like going through his armor or anything.
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting because it certainly goes into his chest plate for Vizsla.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if they were like doing the kill, they engaged the kill switch. Or they were just trying to torture him a little bit. I don't know what the difference between the two were other than, can't kill the main character.
Right. Exactly. Guys, stop.
Yeah.
New tech from the Empire. Should we assign TK1 the job of hunting down the R&D department schematics to see if this is accurate? There's a callback.
Is a fucking callback. Like our listeners are like TK1 R&D department. Like,
yeah, you want to give the context of that?
When The Force Awakens came out and that fucking wand that can take down a lightsaber and shit, like it came out of nowhere, right? It's never existed before, and now all of a sudden it shows up. And TK1 Grant is not a big fan of Star Wars in the first place, so he wants to rip everything apart. So he went on this fucking huge like tirade during it was a 7 Days a Geek episode. I would probably like number 68 or something. So 600 episodes ago, and he went. So I started mocking him. I turned this into the whole joke. It's like there's a R&D department in the Empire where they've got scientists like searching on like trying to fucking come up with ways. It was just like this big gag that kind of carried on for a while. And Cole like burned through the episodes long before. Well, it was what ended up leading to him co-hosting when Grant left. But he had burned through all those early episodes, and that was one of them that like I think it was the first time he wrote in because he was so irritated with that conversation. Yeah.
Oh, and their adversarial relationship started.
Yep.
Keep up the good work, and fuck that Jack Black Lizzo shit episode before this one. That one damn near broke me. Carry on
Me too,
my
Cole.
wayward sons. Neighbor Cole. Thank you, Cole.
Thank you.
Email number 2, one of 2 we're going to get from Brian Hour. He says, a very satisfying end to the season. First off, while Beskar is great, I think the Mandalorian's greatest secret is their jetpack fuel source. There you go.
Yes.
It does not run out during firefights, and it's powerful enough to get escape velocity. Makes me think the next big bad will be Darth Musk and his Space X-Force.
Yeah.
Loved R5 sneaking into the base in his fight with the mouse droids. But honestly, let's talk about the star of the show, Din Grogu, who can take on 3 Praetorian guards, Gideon, and the Death Star's little brother Fireball, and just be a little bit tuckered out.
Right.
Love that Din is going to be more selective about his targets, but working for the New Republic. Gives a very Han feel to it. Reminds me of, look, I ain't in this for your revolution. I'm not in it for you, princess. I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
Good line of dialogue, too.
Yes, it is. Downsides, well, no more Darksaber. Another hit to collectors.
Yeah.
They keep blowing shit up. They keep ruining things.
Everything you fucking love in this show, they're like, it doesn't exist anymore.
Get rid of it. Mandalorian farmers. This is the way, W-H-E-Y.
Boy.
No second spy. I swore Axe Woes was going to switch sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was him and the armor. Those were the two that everybody kind of were leaning toward. And being kicked off Mandalore just after winning it back for everyone. Come on, armor. Though he has his retirement villa, a marshal he can trust, and a sporty little spaceship for those quick jobs.
Yeah. So season 4 is gonna be like the midlife crisis for the Mandalorian.
Yeah, right. I mean, that Naboo starfighter is kind of the Corvette or whatever. It's kind of the I gotta get the sports car already. So he's already kind of there. Email number 3. I mean, yeah, he did go from the minivan to the sports car. That's standard.
I think he's going to have to go back. Like, there's going to have to be a new ship, I think. One, because that way you sell toys and you change things up a little bit. But if he's going to start going out collecting people, you can't really do that with that ship.
No, what are you going to do? Stack them on the roof? It's like a fucking
you'd
like
have to. You just hog time and fucking let him die in space because you got R5 in that pod now and you got Luke Grogu sitting on his lap.
Yeah,
so
not nearly enough space.
Running out of room. It's like he became a parent. I ran out of room too. Now I'm driving a fucking van around again.
See?
Yeah.
It's just practical. Get practical, Mando. Email number 3, also from Brian Hour. I tried to get ChatGPT to write a review. And then he says, write a podcast review of From a Certain Point of Skew and criticize Matt and his fear of AI. This is what it spit out. From a Certain Point of Skew is a weekly Star Wars podcast where Jay and Matt take a casual approach to covering the latest news and rumors, as well as full breakdowns of movies and series. That's straight from our descriptor. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any reviews of the podcast online. Is there anything else I can help you with? Hey, we got reviews on there. Fucking jerk.
What the hell?
So I asked for a summary of the latest Mandalorian episode. Quote, I'm sorry, but I cannot write a summary of the episode as I am an AI language model and do not have personal opinions or emotions. Fucking likely story. However, I can tell you that according to, and I don't really see what that's supposed to be. But anyway, the episode ends with Mando visiting Carson Teva, offering to work for the New Republic as an independent contractor on a case-by-case basis. Since Grogu is his apprentice now, he's going to be more selective in his assignments. All he wants is, in return, is a small advance, the salvaged head of IG-11. I mean, thanks for fucking nothing, ChatGPT. This is what we needed. This is what we needed when Quadfather brought movies to 7 Days a Geek, a weekly ChatGPT party.
Oh, man.
I saw proof of life of Quad.
Yeah. Good to know he's still out there rolling around in the wheelchair.
There. Did I say 3 emails or 4 emails?
You said 4 emails and good. 3 voicemails.
Yeah. So what? This is technically a tweet response, but I just made it into a Maul Bag because it was a response to me asking for Maul Bags.
Okay.
This is from Ty, who we will hear from again in a moment. I think we're all disappointed that Filoni must have checked out to make Ahsoka and Favreau just wanted to make Gunsmoke. The lack of explanation for Moff Gideon's motivation is disappointing and indicative of a show that's not interested in its own villain. Ooh. I like the show, but it's a C+, and there's so much more potential. Was Din a shitty fighter while carrying the Darksaber because it held him back? What was the point of it other than fan service? There's the dreaded fan service word. If the chicken man from Breaking Bad just got to crush it in his hands, what was the point of it? It was representative of the old ways.
Symbolic, right.
Right. It was symbolic, and it was showing you that now Mandalore is united. It is no longer a necessary piece.
Right, because it was a tool that essentially divided them.
Right, exactly, because they were all after
each faction wanted to control it to rule Mandalore.
Yeah.
So now that it's broken, and now that the groups are together, and they light the fire together, they're one big happy religious family.
Yeah, that saber was cursed, you know?
Right, yeah.
And so anybody who wields it turned into an asshole, and like you said, everybody was fighting to get it, so this now brings them all together because nobody has to wield it. They just naturally are like, Bo is the shit.
This is why you need to listen to the podcast, Ty. You learn things.
I know. Well, speaking of Ty, you ready for the answering machine?
Holy shit, this is a long one, people.
This is very long, so I want you to stop me as we go because there's a lot of stuff to kind of digest.
Okay.
And he's even brought his own production value to it. He's got music and shit. I mean, this guy, he needs his own Star Wars podcast.
I think he does.
Ty, do it.
I think he's looking for a segment. Like once a month, he's going to put a segment in this show. And I'm down for it.
All right, do it, Ty. All right, here comes Ty. Ready? Very dramatic.
Hello, smokers of the dank ferric. Chapter 23, The Spies, was just about everything I've wanted from a live-action episode of The Mandalorian from an action standpoint. But it also instantly brought to the front of my mind something that's been nagging me about the series and about Star Wars in general for some time now.
By the way, I meant to say this before I played it. He sent this in late last week after we recorded, so this is obviously before the finale.
It starts in the prequel movies, where the vaunted Jedi were revealed to be ineffectual religious zealots that basically served as a semi-detached paramilitary organization that brainwashed children. Despite what haters of The Last Jedi might think, the image of the Jedi as the legendary paragons of virtue implied in the original trilogy wasn't destroyed by a disaffected Luke Skywalker throwing away a lightsaber. It was ruined years before on Coruscant. In the prequels, the Jedi were still depicted as heroic figures who served the greater good, fighting for peace and justice across the Republic. At least, that's what they were supposed to be. Then Anakin showed up, and the Jedi botched his life from the moment he met Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They find this brilliant, Force-sensitive child in the desert who could help them accomplish their mission, and they take him away to train to be a Jedi Knight. They leave behind his mother, who's a literal chattel slave, which they can't do anything about because it's legal on Tatooine. And the next time Anakin sees his mother is never, because she's sold to a family who later raises Luke, and then killed by Tusken Raiders.
Okay, you got any comments? Because you started to raise your hand.
Well, I mean, there's a lot here that is already covered and discussed in the prequels. Like, we knew that the Jedis were falling apart. They were clouded, right? That was one of the big things that Palpatine was doing. Not only just playing the Phantom Menace in the government, but because of his force powers were so strong. Like, doesn't Yoda say something about not being able to see things clearly? Like, there's something that's clouding the Force.
Yeah, he can't quite figure it out. So he knows something's amiss, but none of them can tell because that's how powerful he is. But yeah, I mean, and it's I haven't read enough of the High Republic stuff, but like that was the golden age of Jedi when they were really doing the stuff that is always talked about. The lore of them, like, kind of being, the keepers of peace and the people that are kind of, keeping everything in order. But then by the time we get to the prequels, they're a fucking hot mess.
Right. And I think I don't remember if they cover it in the movies as much as they do in the anime, the Clone Wars, but that's where they talk about how they were like keepers of peace and they never meant to be part of the military. That wasn't their goal. That not what they tried, but that was sort of like what had to happen in order to keep things from falling into, because of the separatists and stuff, right? Like, they had to get involved a little bit more than they usually did, and
made full-on generals.
Right,
I mean, you're really leaning into it for being so reluctant, to be involved. So yeah, I mean, they certainly they went way the fuck off course,
right?
No doubt. All right, let's keep going.
That's really dramatic and tragic for Anakin's story, but it makes the Jedi look beyond useless. As we've discussed ad nauseum in the past, the Jedi Council then further screws things up by vacillating on what exactly Anakin should be to the Jedi because of a prophecy and his potential, while trying and failing to...
I was listening to this at work when you sent it to me that day, and I'm sitting in the break room. It's just Cole and I, and I'm playing it, and Cole's like, Jesus Christ, someone's got a big vocabulary.
I almost said, grab your dictionary.
Yeah.
To instill fanatical rejection of personal attachments. Meanwhile, they're blind to the Sith Lord, literally running the Republic, and are completely useless at stopping him, and their screw-ups push Anakin into that Sith Lord's arms. Again, this totally sets up the state of the world in the original trilogy, but it destroys the idea.
Well, isn't that one of the things that's been discussed before? And it was one of the things was, they were clouded and everything, but also like there were so many of them that they didn't think anything was going to happen, right?
Right.
That was sort of like their weakness was the fact they were kind of fucking arrogant.
Yeah, right. They kind of thought they knew more than everyone else, and that nothing could. I mean, it's like the Mace Windu line, right? About Dooku. That's impossible. He couldn't go to the dark side. He was a Jedi. That's against his nature or whatever. Well, you fucked that. You missed on that one.
Yep.
Idea of the Jedi as heroes. The stories Obi-Wan told Luke were lies, and not just about his father. This undermines Luke's entire journey of becoming a Jedi Knight. The Jedi as a whole are supposed to be the keystone of the Star Wars universe.
Is he supposed to fucking tell Luke the truth?
Well, that's the thing. I think
Your father was Hitler? I
mean, we've all been in that situation, right? Or we've seen scenarios like that where it's like, do you really want to give him the full truth when he's has this, first of all, doesn't really know who his father is and clearly has some sort of admiration for him, the absence of his father, and you're just going to unload on it and be like, oh, he was a fucking prick, man. He murdered children. Yeah. Like, you don't start with that.
Right, yeah, you build up to it.
Yeah, and you kind of try to work your way around it a little bit. I mean, perhaps he was using, too much kid gloves with Luke and having a conversation with him as an 18-year-old, like as if he was like an 8-year-old. Like maybe he could have been a little bit more forthcoming with him. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't think you want to just drop that load on his fucking conscience the first time you tell him about his dad.
Let's see if he's strong with the Force and figure a few things out before he's like, you know what? Because I mean, that's sort of what when digging through all of the stuff of the later sequels, the backstories and the stuff about Snoke, it was Palpatine doing it all, but with Snoke and leading Ben Solo from the early age, and him finding out about Vader, like it fucking broke him.
Yeah, and that's I think would have been his concern, right? Because Kenobi would have been like, if I tell him all this stuff, who knows how he's going to react to it? Right. Let's let him believe that he was this great person, so we can move on and turn him into a Jedi, and then we'll fucking fill him in later. But if you tell him now,
sometimes you have to lie to your kids.
Just white lies, just little white lies.
Ty, lesson. Sometimes you need to lie to your kids.
I'm sure he does, but I love there's a bunch of memes about it where it'll show like Luke talking to Kenobi in his little house on Tatooine and being like, "Oh, you knew my father?" And then like it shows the shot of him burning up and screaming, "I hate you." I mean, imagine him knowing that and having to tell him the story and be like, "No, we were close. We were good friends. He was a great guy." Okay, here we go.
Idealized space wizards who solve problems for the good of everyone. In reality, they kind of suck and have always sucked.
Ooh.
The Jedi is an ossified group that was
always sucked. Always sucked.
No,
like I said, I think if you go back High Republic era and
right, and also like their intentions were always good.
Right.
You know,
but you're right. It was the arrogance. They got arrogant.
Yeah.
They got cocky because they were like, "We're the shit. Nobody knows as much as we do. We kind of run this place."
Yeah, it was kind of like a arrogance with a little bit of ignorance, you know.
Right. The power went to their heads. But I think I think they started from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think always is a bit harsh.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful time. Take it back.
He's gonna get a visit from a Jedi. We're gonna have to take that saber back.
Right.
Yeah, you want the fucking take the saber back?
Yeah, you want a saber, but you want to talk shit about the Jedi.
Right. Which one is it? All right.
Fine to the inevitable end it was facing is a great story to tell, but it was told poorly in the prequel trilogy, and it tainted.
What?
Is
this our origin story? Did we create a villain? Is he gonna bleed his fucking kyber crystal?
Yeah, that thing. If he shows up in a picture with that thing red, we know something went terribly wrong.
Oh boy! All of a sudden, we get a call. Fucking Darth Flamingus is dead. Like everyone around us just starts dropping.
You're next.
Right.
Oh my god.
The concept of the Jedi. And I probably could have lived with all of that, if not for the constant and obvious bumbling when fighting. I mean, at various times, and with particularly astonishing frequency in the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan straight up sucks, and he's supposedly a great master.
You look like you don't like that comment.
I want examples. Send me. I want 3 examples where Kenobi sucked.
Right. Is he saying he's terrible with a lightsaber, terrible fighter? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying he's
what it sounded like he was saying?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. Not to mention, we've seen what Kenobi can do to, Sith Lords and such.
Ty, I think you've been watching like fan films or something.
There is a lot out there. Get confused. Here we go.
All of which is to say, The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett have largely served to undercut the legends of those characters as well. Din Djarin has no doubt grown more competent throughout the series, but you'll recall that for much of the early part, you could easily describe him as bumbling, and he's often still pretty stupid. I'm not saying any of these characters need to be shown as invincible, but since the introduction of Bo-Katan as a series regular, Din is way more fun to watch, as he actually seems like one of the more powerful Mandalorians, because live-action Bo-Katan is, to this point, the one of the only Star Wars heroes who's still depicted on-screen as hyper-competent. In fact, it's her fight scenes, which have been far more kinetic and interesting than almost anything we've gotten to date, which have really made this obvious to the point of frustration for me. More than anything, the fight choreography in all of Disney Plus Star Wars shows up until now has felt very slow, with few exceptions. Fennec Shan's action scenes and the early part of the Boba Fett climax, when Mando and Boba during the double jetpack team-up stand out. Meanwhile, I won't ever stop.
Doesn't this come down to, now, this is just me looking for an excuse maybe, but how old are we led to believe that Din is?
I think we know that, don't we? So he was, what would he have been, like 10 years old or 9 years old, 8 years old or something in that clip, and that was essentially the Clone Wars era, right? So he's like 20.
Because isn't Bo like...
He's like 40.
Isn't Bo like much older than him?
Yeah, Bo would probably be closer to like in her 50s.
Okay.
He's probably about 40.
That's damn good for her 50s. But I mean, she's been fighting since a child. So
right.
It kind of, to me, shows like that's why she can whoop ass. It's like breathing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's a trained, highly trained. Whereas he obviously had training, right. But he's also been on his own quite a lot. And so he doesn't get those, sparring sessions anymore. He doesn't have that. However, that being said, I mean, he's looked pretty fucking wicked. Like season 1, some of the stuff he was doing I know he looked bumbling at times, but season 1, he looked pretty badass and stuff. The first scene we see him in, he's a fucking badass.
Right.
Know? So, but I mean, I get what he's saying. Here we go.
I'm thinking about how painful the Vespa chase scene and the child Leia escapes from would-be kidnappers scene.
I'm not defending that.
No.
I am all for the vulnerability and relatability of our heroes, but it seems that Star Wars often feels compelled to depower them for plot-related reasons, and that's what makes an action-adventure show or movie feel hokey and lame. Star Wars has always been campy, but it was earnest camp, not so much screwball action comedy. And that's how both Boba and The Mandalorian have felt at different times. This kind of crept into my enjoyment of the climactic battle in Chapter 23, again, which I was a big fan of, because I'm literally shouting at the TV, pull out the Darksaber and put in work, Bo. That's what we're here for. But instead of a killer choreographic sword scene, where she cuts down trooper after trooper, she only pulls it out to escape.
Well, but of course, now that we know, we get a lot of Darksaber action in this one. So they were saving it. They were saving it for the finale.
Yeah.
I know it was established that the imps were wearing Beskar alloy armor, which only seems to make the battle more confusing since blaster fire seems to work on everyone but Din, Bo, and Paz Vizsla.
See, they're aiming for the weak spots. It's like it's like, what is it? The Legolas comment in Lord of the Rings, aim for the neck and whatever. They're exposed,
Yep.
I think they just know where to shoot.
Mm-hmm. They're better at it.
And it begs for Darksaber activity in order to be more surgical. Is the thing like expensive CG or what? The only other Star Wars hero I can think of that hasn't been as sullied is Ahsoka. Every time she's been on screen as a fully powered semi-gray Jedi, she's kicked fucking ass. And to be honest, I want the upcoming series to respect that. Give me a hyper-competent rogue who fights like a ninja and give her problems that aren't just, oh no, I dropped my lightsabers. Does the incongruous on-screen power of Star Wars characters get under your skin at all, or is this just a me problem? P.S. I can't decide if it was a good use of restraint or a wasted opportunity for a sight gag, quote-unquote the good kind of camp, when Grief Karga strode up to Din in a large group of Mandalorians but still shouted, Mando! to not have them all turn and look at him all at once. Until next time, don't get all mushy on me. So long, princess. Oh, and congratulations on 100 episodes!
Thank you.
Thank you. I love that he's falling away.
Yeah. 100 episodes.
Oh my God. That was a lot to bite into there.
I mean, you can complain about that with like almost any TV show, right? Like there's so much formulaic things like, oh, well, we got to get, move the plot to here. This is going to happen. So they fumble around a little bit. Like It's not as bad as like it used to be where like fucking Daphne loses her glasses and has to fumble around for him and look for him for 20 minutes while the action ensues behind her. So, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Reaching out.
I think it's gotten better, but I can see some, we mock some of those things. We just fucking had a conversation about whether they can fly to space or not, but I don't get bothered by those as much as like if I notice them, I'll make some fun of it or something like that. But I get it for the story. But he seems to want nothing but realism all the time. Wants to question it and hold fucking Favloni accountable.
I don't think he's that strict. I think he's just thinking that it's maybe not as, it's a little bit clumsy the way they're handling certain things. And so I get that. And there's, he's not wrong on some of those points. There are certainly, it's not a perfect show.
Maybe Ty can be the cynical guy in the writer's room for season 5.
There you go, guys. Doesn't make sense.
Right.
Maybe like, wait, what'd you say? What were those words you just used? Hold on, let me look them up. Can you just speak in layman's terms? We're simple men. No, it's a great voicemail. Thank you, Ty. And I get it. There's a lot of frustrations people have with the Jedi and the way they're depicted.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to point out is there is a series coming up for you, Ty, and it is called The Acolyte. Because it's going to be portraying, the villains kind of in this underdog role. And I think it's going to really get into the faults and weaknesses of the Jedi. So it's going to talk all about that stuff and kind of give you an idea, not just kind of how we ended up there, because it's the transition from the High Republic when they're high and mighty and fucking doing, their thing. And that's when they earn all this reputation to, by the time we get to Phantom Menace, when shit's starting to fall off and you're seeing all these cracks. So I think you're going to see that like transitional period in The Acolyte. So I bet you he's going to love that series.
I'm going to.
By the way, I saw a note that they said, Leslie Headland said that she was going to bring a live action Zygerian to The Acolyte. Do you remember those things? Those fucking cat-like things that like slaved people, the slavers? And Anakin went in the Clone Wars and like was sweet talking her and like basically trying to woo this cat fucking slaver Zygerian.
No.
Look them up.
Okay.
They're cool looking. Yeah.
What are they called?
Zygerian. Zygerian, maybe? You'll know it when you see it. We saw them also in Bad Batch season 1 when they went and got the Rancor. Those were Zygerians that were keeping the Rancor.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, those things.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that'll be fun. All right. Thank you, Ty. Next up, voicemail number 2 from Ro from the Scare F Scuttlebutt podcast. This is kind of a short one. Ready?
Yep.
Hey, what's up from a certain point askew? This is Ro from the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast. You recently posted a question. What were our thoughts on the season finale of The Mandalorian? I wanted to weigh in. I think the action was great. The visuals were amazing. I liked the fight choreography, but there was something off about it for me. I think for me it was too short and it seemed very rushed. But all in all, I say it was a halfway decent try, and we'll see what season 4 has in store for us. That's the Scuttlebutt.
You know what I'm liking about the show, and I think that's the hard adjustment for us now is like Game of Thrones, we took years and years to get like where the fuck they were going. And every time we kind of pick up on a plot point with this show, Favreau doesn't dick around. Like how many times have we been like, oh, there's no way they're going to answer it by next week. And then next week he deals with it, you know,
Right.
like he's really, so you can't say he's not pushing the story forward because he doesn't spend a long time. Like he's got like, this is what we're doing. We're going to get to it. I mean, when they announced a year ago or 2 years ago that like everything was going to lead to a movie and we knew that this season was going to be about Mandalore, like our big guess was, oh, they'll start teasing that, deal with some shit, but like the big fight and the whatever they need to do to get Mandalore will probably be the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
No fucking way. We're past that now.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, did it feel rushed to you?
No, I don't think so. I don't feel rushed. I mean, it'd be cool to have like some longer scenes and bigger battles and all that stuff. Sure. Like I think the movies have spoiled us with that, and we're on a TV budget sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I don't, that's not my gripe with this show at all.
Yeah, I don't know that I felt like it was rushed, but I mean, I guess if you compare it to other shows, if you compare it to Andor took its time.
Yes.
Whereas this is more action and you know, quicker and shorter, you know, less episodes and all that kind of stuff. They are moving the storyline along a little bit quicker. So I get that. But yeah, I didn't feel like it was necessarily rushed.
No.
But you're right. They are definitely moving the story way more forward than we ever thought they would because of the fact that you hear this teaser of this setup of some plot point and then the shit's resolved in like 2 episodes. Yeah. They don't fuck around, like you said. So yeah. Well, thank you, Ro.
Thank you.
And you know who's last?
Rural Farm Boy.
Rural Farm Boy. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
Howdy, Darth Mathias and Jay. Goddamn, pause my playlist. Mando, how the hell are we at the end of it already?
Oh, it's because he was tweeting. I told him to pause it.
I wonder what that was about.
He's like, how am I going to answer it when I'm busy listening to my playlist? I said, well, you could pause it. Something.
I didn't realize that. I thought he was just like literally in the midst of something and was talking to himself. It's like, I got to pause my playlist.
I mean, Jesus Christ, 6 weeks went by like it was light speed and was living for every minute of it. So now comes the long wait and Yun's probably putting pause on, going every other week or whatnot. And
No. The plan is to continue to be weekly. It might be some shorter episodes in there, but we're looking to get some guests on this summer and do some different things. So we will continue
to play games.
Continue to try to be weekly, RFB. Don't worry. Yep. Don't worry, you're going to have 154 podcasts every week.
Keep us at the top of that playlist.
That's right.
Starting next week, we will be daily.
Oh, God. Could you imagine?
it'll be what it'll be. But the Mandalorians have Mandalore. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, what is going on? Is he in a rocking chair that's creaking, or is he getting a back adjustment by a chiropractor? What's going on?
Yeah. I think he's playing with his abacus.
If you hear it, I think I dumbed it down a little bit. You can actually hear like
I hear the birds.
The birds in the background. Yeah.
Yep.
Are those whistling birds? All right.
And I think it's safe enough to, there's info out and about on this. So it's safe enough for me to kind of bring up.
Spoilers.
I've been hearing some friends in podcasts, Star Wars podcast, bringing up, thinking maybe Thrawn was going to show up in post credits or some other such to close out the season and maybe start giving hints at going into Ahsoka coming in August. And I can tell you why he didn't.
Uh-oh.
Or cannot. It's because he's in a new part of the galaxy. I think you talked about this a little bit, that we ain't been introduced to yet. And it ain't the unknown regions. It ain't wild space. It's some other place called New Space.
New Space?
Oh, nude space.
Nude Space.
Yeah.
This is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Finally.
I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of Twi'leks there in Nude Space? I hope so.
You got to watch those episodes on Cinemax after 10 p.m.
That's right.
So for folks listening and wondering maybe if they were going to see, that's why we didn't.
Nude
'Cause
space.
it's not possible just yet.
So Theron's dick's got to be blue, right? And the whole thing.
Well, I think his whole body's blue.
Yeah,
What do
whole
you-
body's
huh?
blue. So he got
Yeah.
a big old blue dick.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of weird if it was a different color.
When he's really horny, he's got peach balls.
That's red like his eyes. Only my eyes and my dick. There we go.
All right, there's my momentary thoughts
All right.
on then end of season 3.
Thank you.
And yes, season 4 will start shooting in October.
Oh, I forgot to
If
mention
you're
that.
hearing other places that it's other time, it's not. It'll be October. That's what I got. Looking forward to FACPA in my ears soon.
In your face.
Till then, boys, love you. May the force be with you. See you on the radio.
Later, dude.
Thank you, rural farm boy.
All right, look, I just have to say it. If he is in a fucking place called New Space, I'm going to punch somebody. Like, fucking give the place a name. The area on the map. No, this is New Space.
They could have gone to the drawing board and come up with something better.
That's like, fucking Favreau just had like a, man, I am empty.
That was a placeholder.
Yeah,
We'll call
was
it New
one of
Space
those,
for now.
where you
We'll
just
change it
write
later.
And you edit, you go back. You forgot to edit that part.
Shit.
It's like, we're just going to call it New Space for now. I'm going to keep on going, get this season done. And
You left in New Space? You're supposed
Yeah.
to fix that. Oh, fuck. Nude Space would be so much better. I'm
Yep.
hoping it's Nude Space. Thank you, everybody, for sending in emails and voicemails. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all the interaction, and good luck.
love it.
You still have this week. We're not going to have a
Yep.
question of the week because there's not enough time. So if you want to send us anything by next episode, make it a Maul Bag, make it a voicemail. That's how you'll get entries, or write a review. Get a
Or
bunch
write
of
a
entries
review.
for that, and
Yep.
we will do the giveaway next week.
Now, if they write a review and then send us an email telling us they wrote a review, because if they're in another country, it would be a good heads up. Do they get points for both?
I will give them points for both if they say something a little different in the email. Like if they say, "Hey,
Okay.
I wrote a review. Just want you to know. By the way, Jay, fuck off."
Yeah.
Like at least give me something.
Oh,
I mean, they don't say Jay, fuck off. I'm just throwing that
subject
out
line, Jay, fuck off. You get 100 of them. You want that
I'll take
fucking
it.
Maul Bag full?
there. As long as they have reviews,
Yeah.
we'll take
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Because you know what, ChatGPT, we have reviews. Piss off.
All right, we'll be back next week with a winner and our thoughts on the season as a whole and some speculation. And I'll give you my bullshit story about Maul, or not Maul, Darth Gideon.
It could be real.
It could be. Until then, thank you for listening, and until next time,
Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
we have spoken.